This month really feels like the beginning of creating a whole new world. Two, three, one, two, three. Why did I delete that last clip? That was a terrible idea. I deleted the first video, my wife. Was that a terrible idea? It is February, which means January has just finished, and we are fully into 2026. And hopefully it's going to be an exciting year. I thought I would introduce what I am working on and what I'm hoping I'll achieve this year. I don't normally make New Year's resolutions. I don't know. I have a really hard time sticking to them. But this year I decided to kind of change things up. 2025 was one of the craziest years of my life. It was one of the most beautiful, one of the most difficult, one of the ones I think that I will remember for the rest of my life. A lot happened. I got married, which was amazing. It's been really, really special. Me and my wife, we both graduated our master's degrees, which is kind of how we met in the first place. I got promoted, which has been crazy. It's been a really busy job and so much going on, but there are some amazing parts of that. And near the end of the year, I decided to start kind of taking my dream project more seriously. And a dream of mine has always been to create an animated TV series. But up until now, it has lived in like maybe a few notes in a notebook, or mostly, if I'm being honest, in my head when I'm listening to music. On top of that, with everything that happened at the end of the year, which was very, very challenging, I think that's something I realized is that we don't get to live forever. I kind of started thinking, yeah, it's kind of time to start. So I decided this year to start on all the projects I've ever wanted to do, which includes 1, animated TV series, 2, a musical album, and 3, to make my first video game. I'm not crazy. I'm not expecting to complete all of these things in this year, but the more I got into creating animated work, and the more I got into like playing around with music, which does sound pretty terrible at this point, the more I realized that there's kind of no point waiting to do all these things. I've just got to kind of dedicate a little bit of time here and there to each of these projects. This year, I kind of went out of my way to organize my projects. So I made kind of a little summary of what I want to achieve for my animated project, for my games project, and for my music project. And then, like a fool, I spent the entire month essentially working on the animated project. I created this new page on Notion for my projects, which was a kind of progress tracker. So instead of a to-do list, I would put a picture or a video or an image of something that I had achieved with the date, and I would just keep doing that. And I found that what was happening is putting that progress onto the sheet would inspire me and keep me motivated to develop that further. So this project started, I'm going to say, around the pandemic, but I never really did anything with it, apart from maybe putting together a few notes in a notebook that didn't go anywhere. At some point, you've got to go from having an idea in your head or speaking about an idea that doesn't exist into doing it, which is, I guess, one of the hardest steps, especially when, like me, you don't know where to start and you don't know all the tools and you have to teach yourself. What I wanted to do was find my visual style and find my system for bringing together a world. So this month really feels like the beginning of creating a whole new world. I started off doing a sketch, a terrible sketch. I'm a terrible drawer. I should get that out of the way. So I did a really terrible sketch. I brought that into Blender, and I very quickly started building a scene, did the texturing. That's something that I hadn't done last year. So last year I was working on my first ever shot, and I think there's almost 50 different iterations of the shot that didn't go very far. This time around, I wanted to animate it as quickly as possible, just to get a feel of what this show is going to be. I'm kind of doing all of this stuff early in the morning or on lunch breaks or when I'm home beside my wife and she's watching like a Korean drama, just finding any little nugget of time. So I spent a bunch of time kind of developing my Blender skills, and I finished this shot and I think it looked really, really good. And that kind of drove me to want to go further. I think a big moment was after finishing that shot, which is like not perfect. It is a low quality render. I showed it to my wife and she just went, whoa, I want to watch that. Like genuinely, not just because she loves me, but she genuinely looked at that shot and was like, I want to see this. I want to know what the story is. And yeah, I think when you kind of show people your work, especially people you care about, and they kind of get it, you really start to feel like you're on the right track. And that led me to going a little bit further and starting to work on the next kind of shot. I made a goal that I should do about 6 different kind of background scenes by March, so that I can kind of have some almost like mini reel of the project. I started working on probably my most ambitious shot to date. It's really stylized and felt 2D. I wanted the background to have much more ambitious parallaxing. I bought Procreate Dreams and kind of just started to add textures in and do things by hand, which I think gave the whole scene and the whole idea a bit more of an analog kind of warm feeling. And yeah, it's not perfect again, but it feels like every time I make progress on something, it gets better and it becomes clearer. And my whole aim in this part of the process is to figure out a replicatable style, and ultimately to create a world that you and anyone who's watching kind of falls in love with. Something cozy, something homely, something eerie, something mysterious, filled with characters that hopefully will form a community that you want to spend time with. Every time I was kind of working on the project, I found myself listening to a bunch of music and just trying to imagine the sense of feeling and the atmosphere. For every shot, I would put kind of a little bit of audio in there as well. And I think it's really taking shape. It's grown in a way that I didn't imagine it would really quick. But we have to go to the but here. There is a flaw to all of this, which is burnout and overambition. And something that I've had to learn to do is step back a little bit and actually take time off. I think for the first kind of 3 weeks of January, I was crushing it. I was waking up at 6 a.m. every day, going to work immediately, putting in as many hours as I could on the project, and then working really hard at work, making sure that everything is running smoothly, coming home, at the most taking a short nap, and then getting straight back to it, on top of somehow playing Silent Hill F and Resident Evil 8. I don't know how I did that. But I found myself really tired, and the kind of Notion progress list, I just stopped adding to it. And I think the lesson here that I'm kind of learning as I go is that, you've got to pace yourself. I can't do everything at once. I need rest. And I think I've learned that you really do need those 2 days off, that time to rest. And I'm trying to get the balance a little bit better. The way that we've achieved this is spending a lot more quality time with my family and with my wife. We made some time to go on some just little coffee dates and get outside, because we've kind of been at home during the winter, like really locked up at home, which I love. I love being home. This is the place I love to be at the most. But with all the busyness, we stopped making time to do these little things. So having those little moments to go out together, to spend time with each other, to touch the grass. I mean, it's snow, but to be outside together has been really wonderful. We spent time with good friends and some time eating amazing food and watching films with our daughter. It's been really lovely. And I think that these moments, these family moments and these moments with my wife are the most precious thing in the entire world to me. And I think because I'm happy at home, I've become a lot more inspired to work on these projects. So where do we go from here? I'd say I'd finished 2 shots of the animation. Right now I'm shifting my attention a little bit to music. I'm excited to share more of what's going on there. And hopefully I will be kind of bouncing between the 2 of these things before I kind of work towards game design as well, something I have 0 experience with. I'm really curious to know, what are your New Year's goals? I'm not going to say resolutions, but do you have any specific goals that you want to achieve? Is there anything that you're planning to start this year? Or in the far future, have you got any projects that you want to do? Leave me a comment. I'll be sure to try and get back to you as soon as possible. But I'm really excited for the rest of this year. January has been crazy busy. It's been the fastest January of my entire life. Normally January seems to go on forever, but this one was a blast. And if I can keep up some of this momentum, I think it's going to be a really exciting end to the year. So on that note, I will say Sao Bol, goodbye, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.